Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of the Great Black Speakers Podcast, where we connect through conversation. I am your host, Lawrence Watkins. I am the founder and CEO of Great Black Speakers Bureau. I'm also the president and chief operating officer of the Black Business School. So today we have a very special guest. I'm very excited to interview Nikki Klugh. Nikki is the owner and principal designer of Nikki Klugh Design Group, a residential and commercial interior design and project management company. You can find out more about her at nikkiklughdesign.com. And I'll, of course, have a link in the description and also in the chat. But today we're talking about a campaign, a political campaign that she's working on called the Million Letter Movement, where she wants our community to send out 1 million letters talking about their experiences and their experiences with police brutality and just the community in general. But she can explain it much better than me to mayors and police chiefs all around the country. So, Nikki, how are you doing today?
Thank you for having me. I am optimistic, cautiously optimistic. Yeah, how are you doing today, Lawrence?
I am doing great. I just ate lunch,
Yeah.
so I'm good to go over here. But no, tell us a little bit about your company, what you currently do, and how you got to this point in your career.
Yeah, so I'm the owner and the principal designer of an interior design firm. We serve clients nationwide, literally from coast to coast. I've been doing interior design really all my life, but officially since 2001. So almost 20 years. I went back to design school, got my degree, and have been designing and project managing ever since.
Got you. Yeah. So tell us a little bit about what led you to think about this Million Letter Movement campaign. Like, how did that idea even come about?
Right. So I have so many business associates and clients and friends, across the whole spectrum of race, white, Black, Asian, Filipinos, a big population of Filipinos here in San Diego, California, where I am. And so many people were reaching out to me wanting to know what they could do to help. And I felt they had genuine concern as we have seen the antennas have been popping up over the last month or so, realizing, hey, this is also part of the work we need to be doing, specifically as white people, as the majority. And so after getting so many pings and having conversations, it's like, okay, if you guys are serious and you really want to put your movement where your mouth is, then let's do this together. And so we created a letter writing campaign that specifically speaks to mayors and chiefs of police. We did some research ahead of time. We basically had to have a crash course in government. That was never my favorite subject in school. And so to know where the greatest and most immediate impact would be, I had to do some digging because there's a resolution that's out right now that some people were backing in Congress, and it's like, well, that's flowery and pretty language, and of course these are basic tenets that we should already be following, but does it have any teeth? Like, what can it actually do to affect change? And so, just from our understanding of our research, we knew that mayors and chiefs of police was really who we needed to be reaching out to.
Okay, so tell me why mayors and chiefs of police are the best people to reach out to for something like this.
Right. So to you've seen it on the news recently, like mayors have the same powers over their cities that the president of the United States has over our country. So they have executive powers, and you've seen so many of them banning chokeholds in just recent weeks. And they're able to do that immediately. So when President Obama, gave his address and was, backing this eight can't wait campaign, these 8 items that will help end police brutality. That is how we, got it connected to that. We had actually looked at quite a few different programs. We looked at Sean King's 25 steps. We looked at a few different, plans to to address these issues. But the 8 Can't Wait was the one that people had heard the most about, that had a very distinct list of metrics that we could hold mayors accountable to. And so reaching out to those mayors, they can say, okay, yes, we are going to, not shoot at moving vehicles. We are going to fire a warning shot. They can require that of their police departments.
Got you, got you. So let's talk about allies, right?
Mhm.
Because in some of our different Facebook groups, that's a conversation that's come up,
Mhm.
and different, yeah, just different people who think different things about that. And you have been a strong proponent of, I guess, getting allies into
Mhm.
acquiring allies outside of, let's say, the Black community. Talk about that in terms of your strategy and why do you think that's important?
Right. I think that, one, it's their problem to solve. We have our ideas of what the answers are, and we definitely want to be in the lead for that. But it's going to take their power, their connections, their money to really get this across the goal line. I like to say accomplices instead of allies. Allies, they can say they're for you, but what are they really doing? We need people that are actually in the trenches with us, not just, sending their well wishes. So, I get it that sometimes we don't necessarily feel like they should be a part of something that we are driving or that we're doing, to affect change, but they are the majority. And so I just feel like if we can work together, we'll get it accomplished much faster. And it's more of them. I mean, quite frankly, so getting the majority on board with this, with the letter writing campaign, especially, their voices will be heard. And so I felt it was appropriate that they do a lot of the work and a lot of the research because this emotional labor that we talk about when we're educating them, helping them see their privilege, helping them understand the thread that goes from slavery to today, just helping them be more aware and more conscious. Yeah, it's a lot of work on our part, and someone has to do it. Sometimes they don't, sometimes they help each other. But when it's our voices, I think it's more impactful because it's our lived experiences. So having me as the lead and then them doing the research and a lot of the work, it was quite it was quite a challenge and a feat that we accomplished in just a matter of 10 days. Doing the research, creating the form letters. We had people that had been already active in their local government and writing letters and campaigns to their city councilmen. So we brought them on board. It was a lot entailed into creating this letter that has statistics, that is relevant, that has points of data that it personalizes it for that particular city. So we spent a lot of time on that, and again, it was the efforts of my friends that kept asking, what can we do? So it's like, okay, if you guys are really serious and want to do some work, I have some work for you to do.
That's interesting. So I want to go, I guess, into two different pieces. So the first is technically and specifically, how does a letter writing campaign work? And then on the back of that question, I want to talk about how it fits into the overall, I guess, the larger ecosystem of protest that's happening,
Mhm.
right? And yeah, so we'll just start there. So first, how does this letter writing campaign like technically work?
Right. So a letter writing campaign, it works because the mayors in their offices, they have to keep track of any communication that comes in. In our research, we found that letters carry a little more weight than emails. Of course, you can email, and that's just a quicker, more simple process. But getting out paper and pen and a stamp, it's a physical representation of your voice. And they have to keep logs. And if you request a response, depending on the office, they will give you a response. So it takes time and effort and energy on both sides. And so it's just, again, it carries more weight, will have a greater impact if offices are flooded with letters of concerned citizens. So organizing in a fashion where it happens in a small window of time, and again has the statistics and the data to back what our requests are and our concern for our city. We had to pay attention to the tone. It's a template, so people can go in if they want to go in, but working together, making sure that they understand. We see that you have implemented 3 of these 8, guidelines, and so congratulations on that part. But we still have more work to do together. So making it where they don't feel attacked, even though we want, so many of us want to attack and have every right to attack. It's like, okay, let's start with where we are and continue to make progress. So, an email campaign is similar, but if you have some of the same language over and over and over, they can filter that and it just gets dumped. So that's why the letters, when, in doing our research, we found that it's the better approach.
Gotcha. So when you are writing these letters, so you give someone a template, or are you giving them just the stats in terms of police brutality, and tell them to infuse their own stories or something like that that may have happened to them personally or someone that they know into the letter, or like how does that part work?
Similar. So we have the 50 most populous cities, and then we also looked at some data banks and selected the 10 deadliest cities for African Americans. And so we have a total of 60 letters that are pre-formatted with the address, the salutations, the mayor's name, the chief's name, their proper, monikers. And so those are already done. And again, they're templates, so you can go in and adjust and change things as you see fit. And then we have one blank template, and we give instructions on where to pull the data and how to tell if they are, implementing these 8 can't wait items.
Got you. So you came up with the eight can't wait, I guess, framework in terms of what needs to actually be done. Is that right?
Exactly. Yes, yes. That was our
Got you.
metric. That was our metric. That was how we measured their success or not and addressing police brutality.
Interesting. So, do you guys have any, or what are the next steps and next plans for, I guess, this campaign, in terms of the million letter movement? So, do you guys have any, I guess, mechanisms to try to hold these elected officials and police chiefs accountable,
That's
or what's next for you guys?
that's a great question. Because Lawrence, I'm not a social justice activist. I'm not running for politics. I'm not normally in this political arena, but I, like so many people, just felt like there has to be something that I can do. And I couldn't go out in March because of health reasons. I didn't, feel comfortable doing that. I donated. I did different things, but this was one thing that I felt like, okay, if people really are serious and they want to engage, this could be a way to do that. So on the onset, I was like, okay, we're going to do this 2 to 4 week campaign. We're going to push, we're going to get these letters out. But then as we dug into it and we got deeper, like, this is a longer, much longer process. So we asked that the mayors and the chiefs respond by August 31st. And then we'll do some follow up. What we want to continue to build on is finding the local leaders at each city, because really everything happens, so much happens at the local level. And although we're doing this push nationally, and we want to get up the energy behind it and have it mushroom and expand to reach everywhere across the country, we don't have the capacity to really manage anyone that wants to continue down this road. So we're doing some education inside of our Facebook group. Again, helping others, specifically the majority, make these connections and see why we need these changes, why their involvement is important. And so we have these learning units and, taking them down this pathway. And at the end of the path, connecting them to their local social justice activists.
Interesting, interesting. So I can see so many great things that can come out of this too, right? In terms of just, I guess you may not have been born into the position of politics or that was your calling, but do you see that being more and more your calling over time, or what do you see on a personal level?
I don't see that happening. I do see me being more involved with my local government. And so, again, when I had this crash course of how things work, understanding that police unions have such a big pool. And so I think my next thing would be to expose the mayors that are running for office, who's taking money from the police unions and who's not. So I do see myself being more active, but not necessarily running for any office or anything like that. Just again, doing my part to be educated myself and help the people around me see what's really going on. I mean, I was so surprised and so shocked at all the stories I was hearing from other people that have have run for, say, assistant DA or council member. And even my brother is an officer, and in his stories, and just knowing how entrenched the police union is. And it was just, it was really saddening, and felt like a huge uphill battle to fight against that. But it's like, okay, where can we start? You know, we have to start somewhere. And so letting mayors know, we're watching you, we see what's going on, that was, you know, the one step that we could take right now.
All right, for the people just tuning in, I'm here with Nikki Klugh. Nikki is the owner and principal designer of Nikki Klugh Design Group, a residential and commercial interior design and project management company. Today, we're talking about her million letter movement. So this entrepreneur created this million letter movement, and it's her contribution to end police brutality. So if you guys like what Nikki is talking about, or would like to be a part of her movement, I'll make sure to place the link, the Facebook group, in the live chat, and also the description as well. Please make sure that you give this video a thumbs up, share this video, and also subscribe to the Black Financial Content, or excuse me, Black Financial channel, if you'd like to receive more Black financial content like what we're producing today here with Nikki. So Nikki, I want to talk about just the larger protests that are going on too, right? How do you think that your campaign fits into this larger narrative of, you know, you have people out in the streets doing protests, you have some corporate responsibility stuff. Tell me what you think about in general what's going on, and your role into the system.
Gosh, there are so many different ways that we can come at this, and I feel like they're all needed. I feel like the march and the protest, they're absolutely a way to make our voices heard and to show the world. I mean, I was just so impressed with the response from around the world. So yes, protests are definitely a must, but also, you know, recruitment of African American police officers. I think a letter writing campaign. I think donating. I think educating yourself. All of these things tie in together, and we have to attack this problem that's baked into our system from every angle possible. And I feel like if this is your passion, if this is something, you know, that you are drawn to, go after that. Like, there is no wrong or right way to do this, to accomplish this. I mean, I think as we talk about, you know, African Americans having true equality, you know, business ownership, that's something that you guys tackle and do really well, and help people see the benefits of and grow and strengthen. So yeah, it's multifaceted, it's multi-layered, and we all have a role. So just do something is the way I look at it. Don't think that your voice doesn't matter, your, you know, hour a week won't count, because all of it is necessary and required.
Got you.
And
So let's. Oh,
I
go ahead.
will
Go ahead.
add, Lawrence, that that as I've watched the social justice leaders that we have, you know, there's pockets of them. There's Black Lives Matter. There's other organizations. There's, you know, Campaign Zero. We have these different organizations spread out, you know, across the country. There's no one centralized person like we had with MLK or Malcolm X anymore. I think, you know, to for good reason. And what I've watched over the past, you know, 5, 6 weeks is that they are coming together, and they're very serious about defunding the police, but also abolishing the police. And when you think about the fact that our modern day police system is based on slave patrols from, you know, the 16, 17, 1800s, then of course there's going to be brutality towards African Americans. So, you know, I'm not sure where I stand exactly on that yet. I know it's a continuum. I know that there's a solution. There has to be. We need to work towards it. But I just see that something that's a long-term goal. It's not going to happen right away. They're absolutely not going to abolish the police right away. They may defund. They've done some defunding, you know, transitioning, shifting. I think they need a better word too. Shifting budget, you know, from the police budget to social works, you know, and programs. So shifting budgets, I think that may happen, and is happening in some cities. It may continue to happen. But these 8 can't waits, it's just something that's very, very basic. So it's like, okay, I know that the social justice leaders are moving towards, you know, this other end of the spectrum, but these are things that we can do right now and hold them accountable to right now.
So what have you learned by doing this letter writing campaign that you didn't know before?
I've learned again, tone, that is important. Having people that have done this before. I went in cold turkey, but I knew that there are others that are so much more informed than I am. So finding those people and bringing them alongside me was crucial, was necessary. And so tone of voice was really important to them, keeping the letter under one page so that it actually gets read, including the statistics and making them very relevant. Also, adding the fact that we have so many metropolitan areas where uh, you may have a mayor of the main city. I'll use San Diego as an example. We have San Diego County. We have San Diego proper, who is Mayor Faulkner, but then I live in Chula Vista and we have our own mayor. So I can write my mayor, but I can also write the mayor of San Diego because I frequent San Diego. I do business in San Diego. I go to entertainment and restaurants. I spend money in the city of San Diego. So I have power not just where I live, but also where I frequent and where I do business. So that was something that was new for me.
Interesting. And what are your friends and family saying about you doing this campaign, right? So you were never, you said, politically active or anything like that, and now you have this spark in you where you felt like you needed to do something, and now here you are trying to get a million letters sent to mayors and police chiefs. So what are they saying about Nikki right now?
Gosh, they're all supportive. We were all together on Father's Day, so our four sons wrote their own letters. Well, we printed them out and they signed them, and it was an exercise in addressing envelopes because that's not something they really have had to do much lately. They're young adults, but again, not something that we pay bills online now. Whoever addresses an envelope anymore? So that was a family activity. But yeah, they know how passionate I am about this. I have four sons, so ever since Trayvon Martin, this has been like a tug on my heart. And when they were younger, they were cute, like, oh, look at your precious family, but it was a time, there was a point in time when I realized, oh my God, like they present a danger to some people just by the way they look. So this has been something that I've been concerned about. So it's actually been a good release to be able to be engaged and active to change, and make a better future for them.
Right. And my last question has to do with you being a business owner.
Mhm.
Has, I guess, being a business owner helped you with this campaign from what you learned from the world of business to transitioning to the world of politics? Or have you even talked to any of your colleagues on that particular front about what you're doing with this campaign?
Yeah, that's a great question. So I feel like my business connections is what, gave the fire and boosted, the manpower to actually be able to create this. Just so many different relationships out in San Diego. So many of the people that are active with the campaign and doing the research, creating the letters, and doing the outreach, they are, other business colleagues. So I just think that was, how I'm effective in my circle of influence, was able to be engaged is through my business connections.
Wonderful. So, do you have any closing words or thoughts for the audience as it relates to your Million Letter Movement campaign?
Yeah, I just hope they would get involved, and if not necessarily with what I'm doing, with something that's going to make a change. Taking 10 minutes a day, an hour a day, an hour on the weekend, doing research, finding out, what's going on in your community, and getting engaged on the local level. That's where so many of the things can be changed and happen. And it's going to require all of us, not only Black people, not only white people, but finding ways that you can be a bridge so that these conversations can be had and real changes can be made.
Right, perfect. Well, we'd like to thank Nikki Klugh, for being here with us today.
Thank you.
For the people who are watching live right now, I put the link to the Facebook group for the Million Letter Movement in the chat. So please go ahead and check that out and join the movement that Nikki is building. And please make sure before you leave here today, like, share, and subscribe to the Black Financial Channel as well. And best of luck, Nikki, to you and the project that you have.
Thanks so much, Lawrence.
All right, everyone. So, on behalf of Nikki, my name is Lawrence Watkins. You guys take care, be blessed, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye.